What's up guys, Maxim here back again with another Academy FM tutorial, and this tutorial is going to be all about a few new features in Ableton 10 regarding MIDI and some of my favorite shortcuts to speed up your workflow while you're working with MIDI clips, and even most clips really. A lot of these shortcuts work for all clips there are. So let's go ahead and start with the most simple of things that aren't necessarily new in Ableton 10, but still important to know. And this would probably be for me just simply creating a MIDI clip out of nowhere, which, like most of you know, would probably just be to highlight a certain area, press Command or Control if you're in Windows, Shift and M. Boom. MIDI clip right there. Now, if you want to be smart about it, you can go ahead and press one of my favorite shortcuts, actually, Command L, and this will let me loop what I've selected right away instead of having to press around and drag the loop parameter. And now you're already basically set up to play around with MIDI or select different sounds, or I mean, usually I'd end up at this point after I found the sound that I like or something like that. So let's actually go ahead and select maybe a drum rack or something. Let's say maybe like an 808 core kit, something basic here. I might do a synth later on as well. And now we've just got a bunch of different sounds in here. So we've got some very basic sounds in here. And this would be usually where I play around with different drum patterns like most people do, or maybe I'm using a synth and I'm just playing around with things. And this is actually one of my new favorite features in Ableton 10, and that's the capture. So as most producers do, you just go ahead and play around for a bit. So maybe you're testing a kick drum, you're like, oh, I like that kick drum, and you go ahead and play out a clap or something like that. Just go for random instruments until you find something. And say, for example, you're messing around with different chords or messing around with a drum pattern, and you're just creating something really simple. So now I would usually have to go record that in, but in Ableton I can just go ahead and press capture, and I've got myself a nice capture of what I just did without having to record anything. And I feel like this is less something for drums, but more so for, of course, synths and things of that nature. Maybe you've got a piano VST and just been playing around for 10 minutes with different chords and melodies, and towards the end you actually find something you like, and then you go ahead and try to record it in again, and then it just sounds like crap. But in this case, you can just go ahead and hit the capture feature, and you're basically going to get everything that you were just playing since you opened the project. As you can see here as well, all the messing around of what was going on is in here as well. But of course, I don't care about that. And that's where, you know, one of my other favorite shortcuts come in, and that's basically just Command J, which is consolidating. And this way I can just cut the MIDI clip to what I've selected here, and I don't need to view all of that. And what I'm going to do now is, you can go ahead and highlight things obviously, but go ahead and press Command A. And now what you can go ahead is you can either let Ableton quantize, which is with drums especially, it's something that I would do first, and then afterwards I would go in and edit it. But you could also just go ahead and move this along the grid until you go ahead and hit the 1. So now that kick is on 1, and you can see here that all of this is out of time. This is absolutely dreadful, but we're going to go ahead and highlight this, bring that up here, and then from this point on I'd usually maybe just let Ableton handle this. And if you like the settings that you have for Ableton quantization, you can just go ahead and press Command U, and that'll give you what you've selected. But if you want to go ahead and edit that, you can go ahead and, or you want to be more specific with your quantization for a particular case, you can just go ahead and press Command Shift and U, and you've got up the different possibilities. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that to 100 here. I also want it for the start and end, and quantize that to that grid. And now I'm starting to get something a bit more as per I want. I'm just using my arrow keys. I'm basically just dialing in these notes to the grid. And that's, of course, one of the other ways of editing MIDI in Ableton, is just using your arrow keys for most things. So what I can do is, I mean, again, this is a drum kit, but say we're in a piano or something, we want to transpose the notes real quickly, we can just go ahead and press our arrow key up and it'll go through that, or press it down. We can even jump in octaves, so we can go ahead and press shift, press up, and we're going up in octaves. And one cool feature that I actually really like about Ableton is that you're also able to press this little headphone thing right here. And then you're able to actually go ahead and audition the sounds before you put them in. So this speeds up your workflow a bit as well. So say, for example, you have a more extensive drum kit with a lot of different sounds, or you've got a synth and you're looking for the right note. You can just go ahead and go through everything before you decide that, oh, I actually like that conga. And then we're going to go over and split into draw mode. So you're going to go ahead and press B. And now what you can do is you can, of course, use the grid that you have set up, or we're just going to go in here and use a different grid. So let's go ahead and use the quarter grid right here. So now this is a bit more, actually, sorry, this grid right here. And this is, I tend to memorize grids by instruments, for drums at least. So quarter grid being kick in most cases, at least to get like a bare bone going, and then you've got your eighth, so that's for hi-hats, and then really the one that I use the most is still the 16th, because that's where I find to get the most versatility and all that. But say, for example, if you wanted to draw out a kick drum, so let's just go ahead and delete all of that. You can just go ahead and draw that in. And as you can see here, we've got draw mode enabled, so we can just go ahead and press B, and that's it. Say, for example, we don't like this anymore or something like that, or we're in 16th again, and we want to go ahead and maybe move this kick drum a bit here and edit that. What you can do here as well, if you want to copy that, press Command D, and you're duplicating everything as well. So these things aren't essentially anything new, but I just thought I'd go over that as well. Also, the fold button up here, which lets you fold just the stuff that you're using. And you can go ahead and disable this again if you don't need it, but we're actually going to go ahead and build a quick loop here. So let's go ahead and press Command L. Got that zoomed in. Let's go ahead and change the BPM to something. And now this I defaulted the velocity in earlier videos, so let's go bring that up again. And let's go ahead and just duplicate that again, move that back in there. And what I actually want to do is I want to just slightly move this clap. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using my arrow keys or changing my grid, I'm just going to go press Command or Control if you're on Windows, and now use my arrow keys to just quickly offset stuff. So this is really cool if you want to create some very special grooves or give music a more organic feel in your drums or whatever you're editing. You go ahead and press Command and just quickly edit in what you want. And of course, one thing that you can also do is use the groove feature. So I always go ahead and press the hot swap mode, and then I can go ahead and select out of any of these, usually something around here, and you can go ahead and commit and see what that did, or you can just go ahead and leave that so you can change this at will as you wish later on. We're going to go ahead and press commit for now, and let's go ahead and give this a quick listen. Nothing too special. I'm just deciding to move this maybe around here somewhere. And what I want to do now is maybe add a hi-hat or something. So what we're going to do here is, because I want to add some triple hi-hats, I'm going to go ahead and, as you can see here, Command 3. Now I'm instantly in triplet grid. So for you guys that produce trap, this is like a really easy way to get into that grid really quickly without having to click too much. Press B and say, for example, I want some triplets right here. Again, don't mind my defaulted velocity for this. And then I maybe want some here, something like that. And now we go and press on Command 3 again, go back, and I'm actually going to go ahead and pull these velocities up a bit. Easy way to add some triplet hi-hats, right? And now I'm actually going to go ahead and go over one of the newer features again in Ableton 10, and that is multi-clip MIDI editing. So say, for example, I've captured in this right here. Let's go and duplicate this. You can also press Command D, of course. And say, for example, in here, in this MIDI clip, I wanted to record a different hi-hat. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick offbeat hi-hat right here. You can, or actually just go ahead and press Control A, then move that up. And of course, we can go ahead and edit the groove to the other groove right there. And we can also go ahead and with Command move things around at our own will to make things a bit more organic or whatever it might be. And now, for example, what I could do is select both of these MIDI clips with Shift, and what you can see here is that I can see both of these MIDI clips together. So I can at will, while I'm playing this, maybe go ahead and try different things out. So let's, for example, take a different run for this. So just like that, and this can really work for a lot of different MIDI clips as well. I feel like especially when you're stacking up synths and all that stuff, that's really a really handy tool to make sure that your bass line is working with your synths, or even when you're messing around with different melodies on top of chords, you can see and test right away what works and what doesn't. And this is just going to, again, speed up your workflow like crazy. So that was just a really basic overview of some of the possibilities with MIDI and different shortcuts that you can take in Ableton.